Follow the money.
That's what I always say. You always follow the money.
Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Welcome in. It is Follow the Money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. This show is brought to you by DraftKings. Mitch Moss along with Jonathan Von Tobel. This week, Paulie is on vacation. We're live in downtown Las Vegas from the Circa Resort and Casino, and the NBA's regular season is finally over with, which means we get the play-in games tomorrow and Wednesday night. We also have the first round playoff series numbers available. And at DraftKings, the menu at DraftKings for everything is gigantic. Yep. And they did not mess around at all with the NBA playoffs as well. Like, to bet these series, you can find pretty much anything that you're looking for.
And they put them up almost immediately.
Yeah, they're up, bang, just like that. So let's begin in the Western Conference. My prediction, not so much for the series at this point, but my prediction is going to be, and I think yours as well, right, is going to be, you're not going to find too many people make the case for the Clippers to beat the Mavericks in this series.
No.
And I say that because Dallas has been red hot. And I think when ESPN sends out, I'll use them as the example here. I think when they send out their predictions overall, they probably have between 15 and 20 people at the network give their predictions. My guess is going to be, it's going to be something in the 15 to 2 range.
Sure.
Of people picking the Mavericks compared to people picking the Clippers.
Yeah, I think so. I think that, and we also, and to be fair too, because we've seen this series price. Some spots open the Clippers as a small underdog. DraftKings opened them up as a small, $1.20 favorite. It's not about a pick. Mm-hmm. And we don't know what's happening with Kawhi Leonard. That's the big thing that hangs over this series. Now the Clippers have said the reports are MRI was clean, he's fine. I will also remind everybody that last year he flat out lied about his knee, right? He allegedly injured in game 1 in that win over the Phoenix Suns, played game 2 without popping up on the injury report, and then game 3 was out, and then they said he hurt it in game 1. Uh-huh. So I wouldn't trust them as far as you could throw them. But I will say this, if he is healthy, let's assume the truth, and let's just say that he's going to be out there healthy and ready to go for game 1 of this series, the Clippers can win this series,
obviously. Of course they can.
They should be favored to win this series. And there's kind of this weird, this thought that the Mavericks and Luka Doncic own the Los Angeles Clippers. They got a winning record against them the last 3 seasons. They're 2-0 against them in the postseason, the Dallas Mavericks. And the Mavericks have gotten much better. And for me, that's the fascinating part. You mentioned how good they are. So their new starting lineup, Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, Derrick Jones Jr., PJ Washington, Daniel Gafford, at about 400 possessions total played together, Mitch, a plus 15.9 net rating. And the most impressive part, a defensive rating that gives up just barely over a point per possession. That's how good they've been. And that, for me, is where it starts, because the reason why I like playoff basketball so much, it's all about those matchups. So, if you're the Clippers, in past years, Ivica Zubac has been eaten alive by Luka Doncic. He picks on him every possession down the floor. Can you play small ball? Because if you put PJ Tucker in there, well, then all of a sudden Daniel Gafford's going to be catching lobs all over the place, and absolutely destroying you. And so the intricacies of those matchups, what they're going to do, I'm absolutely fascinated by what this series is going to be.
So people that make the case for the Mavericks, I think they're also going to say it's going to be maybe a 5 or 6 game series. I'm not going to buy into that. Yep. However, you can bet the Mavericks minus 1.5 games at DraftKings plus 155. And you're right. If you go back to March 11th, that was the game against the Bulls where it really flipped for this Mavericks team. They blew out the Bulls in that spot. And that's when the defense really just looked like it did a total turnaround. They're basically the best team in the NBA.
Yes.
Right. Since that point. But if Kawhi, that's the biggest if of the entire playoffs, probably. If Kawhi plays, total game changer. Mm-hmm. If not, they're not going to win the series, in my opinion. And I ran this by you last night. I don't like laying big prices. However, the Mavericks plus 2.5 games is minus 475. I totally agree with everything that you just said. I can see the Clippers winning the series. In fact, if Kawhi plays, I think they're going to. But I don't think the Clippers are going to beat them in a sweep or a 5-game series.
No.
I think if the Clippers win this series, it's going to be 6 or 7. You can get 2. I know it's minus. Nobody ever wants to talk about laying big numbers, me included, but minus 475 on plus 2.5 games. I don't hate it.
No, I don't at all, especially when you look at the way that the Clippers, I'm going to pull up the exact number, but the way that they've been playing defensively, we'll call it like since the post All-Star break, hasn't really been great for them. Post All-Star break, they are 24th in non-garbage time defensive efficiency. Now, their offense has still been very good, but their defense just hasn't been there. And so when you're going to have these certain mismatches that Luka Doncic is going to be able to pick on, well, you yourself are going to be able to do that too. Like each one of these series that they had played with them was extremely tight. Remember the last time they played, they were down 3-2 going back to Dallas. Kawhi Leonard scored like 45 points, was incredible, pushed it to 7. They eventually won that series too. Like, no, these are going to be hard, tight, like fought. This is a series in which even if Kawhi Leonard plays, I'm sure the Clippers will probably only be like a $1.30, $1.45 favorite. I would argue it should be higher, but either way, it's going to be a tight series if Kawhi's going to be out there and down to the wire. I would agree with that sentiment at all.
It sounds to me, though, like you don't have a bet on this yet.
No,
because you need to know.
I need to know. Now, and I think, too, instead of, because you said, what was it? Mavericks plus 2.5 games?
Plus 2.5 games,
What's the series total? Because you could also do that, right?
I think it's, you can. Oh, they got everything. It's so absolutely incredible.
So you can go over, a certain amount of games, like something like that in that nature. I think you would totally look at something there in terms of total games played for the series. I think it's totally probable.
5.5 overs minus 195.
There you go. Something like that.
You could also find over 6.5 at a pretty nice plus price.
Right. So essentially asking, is this game, yes, no, will it go 7? And I think it's a very plausible reality.
Okay, so this is incredible. Great tweet from @PowerTripBets. Power Trip is a morning show in Minneapolis on KFan. The Minnesota Timberwolves have been underdogs in an NBA longest 22 consecutive playoff games. The streak goes back to May 19th, 2004, and the Sacramento Kings Western Conference semifinal series. They opened up a 2-point favorite against the Suns in Game 1. Will they go off the favorite here in this game? They're not even the favorite to win the series, and here they are. They've been one of the best teams in the NBA the entire year.
I mean, that's the fascinating dynamic, right? You're like, yes, 2 is a coin flip. It's barely being favored, but you're favored to win your first game, and yet you're a small underdog for the series against Phoenix. And I'll say this, look, I think from a matchup standpoint, Minnesota did not want to see Phoenix. When you have guys who are elite shot makers, no matter who is defending them, that's a problem. And as good as Mike Conley is defensively, he's very sound. He's not shutting down Devin Booker or anything. And maybe that's Edwards' assignment when you've seen him play in the past. That's kind of the guy who's picked up. But the way I've been putting it, Mitch, is the market has been waiting for the opportunity to bet on Phoenix, to ratchet up that power rating. I was hoping they were going to get Oklahoma City, so I could lay the crap out of a very short price for the Oklahoma City Thunder against Phoenix, because I think the market is too high here on the Suns. And I find myself gravitating toward Minnesota. I get the matchup is poor. I get they played them poorly the last few times that they have played them as well. But you give a guy like Chris Finch, their head coach, time to get ready with a defensive scheme, and you get a Suns team that, yes, down the stretch has played better, but over the grand scheme of things has also fallen flat on their face multiple times.
Oh, yes.
Losing to the Clippers the way they did in that game against Phoenix. Remember, 2 weeks ago, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander gets ruled out. Jalen Williams isn't playing. They go to Oklahoma City, get boat raced by the Oklahoma City Thunder. There's so many different spots in which this team has fallen short, but the market's been waiting for them to be so good. I want to say that Phoenix is overvalued coming into this series.
Okay, so you're holding Timberwolves at a nice big number to win the Western Conference this year. You grabbed that right away this season. What is your advice here for others who are in the same boat? It sounds to me like you almost want to add more Minnesota in the series.
Part of me wants to. I mean, the perfect thing is that you can't do anything, right?
You can't do anything, no.
At the especially if you have something to win the Western Conference, at the minimum, you need them to make it to a Western Conference semifinals. You need it to be in the second round so you can take a piece off of this, but you don't want to start taking things, taking out of your stake, 3 rounds in. Because by the time you get to the Western Conference finals, you're going to have nothing left. Right, you can't do it. So that's part of my push and pull with this as well is I feel like there is some value here in Minnesota, but as somebody who already has something on them, do I just want to sit back and wait and see what's going to happen with this series because I've already got an investment that says I think they are better than what the market believes?
Okay. If you did not have the Wolves, 30-1, you'd be betting them here.
Yeah, I think so. And I'd be fascinated to see. We got a couple of days, right? Obviously, until this series begins, and what the market does with this, right? I mean, we're talking about Phoenix minus 115. Does it get up to the point where you might get, even money, plus 105, plus 110 on Minnesota by the time we get to the tip-off? Yeah.
Might. How about the Eastern Conference? The Bucks and the Pacers play in the first round. It's the 3 versus the 6. It did not go well for the Bucks against Indy in the regular season. And yet the Bucks are at DraftKings a 245 favorite. The Pacers plus 195 on the take back.
By the way, so I tweeted this out yesterday. How about this little nugget? Average closing total in the regular season series between the Bucks and the Pacers. So they played 5 games.
Let me guess. 248.5.
254.9.
That was the average.
The average closing total. This one opened up for game 1, 238.5.
Oh, yeah.
So, we've come a long way. But what I'm interested in is, while the Bucks are 1-4 against Indiana, they haven't played since January 3rd.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
So they have not faced Pascal Siakam with the Indiana Pacers, and the Pacers have not played them since Doc Rivers has taken over. And while it hasn't gone particularly well, Doc has a losing record. The one thing you could say, Mitch, is they've gotten better defensively. With Adrian Griffin, they had a defensive rating of 117.8. They gave up 119.2 points every 100 plays off of live rebounds defensively. With Doc Rivers, 114.2. So about 3.6 points fewer per 100 possessions defensively overall. And off of live rebounds, their transition defense has gotten way better. In fact, 5.1 points fewer per 100 plays off of live rebounds. So you're playing an Indiana Pacers team that is not playing as fast anymore because Pascal Siakam likes to play through the post, and they're effective, but they've gotten better defensively. Giannis, again, is the big thing, right? Is he going to play? If you take Damian Lillard at his word, after he got hurt, Lillard told them that he suffered the same injury. It took 2 weeks for him to recover. That would put you right at the start of this series. And if Giannis isn't going to be available, I understand the price moving in favor of Indiana. But if you're telling me Giannis is going to be there at the start of game 1, I don't know. I feel like we might get to a point where if the price gets low enough, you could talk me into getting back here on Indiana, or excuse me, on Milwaukee.
So I was watching the NBA show last night, the playoff special on ESPN, and I totally agree with what Stephen A. Smith said. He says that just by watching it, doesn't look like Damian Lillard even wants to be there.
Sure. And we should know, too, by the way, since Tyrese Halliburton's injury, remember, he got hurt really bad. Yeah. He went from 23 points a game, essentially 24, to just 17.
Yeah.
49% shooting from the floor, 45% since the injury. He's not been the same.
NFL draft up next. It's coming up next Thursday. Could this be a tell for who this team is drafting in the top 10?
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Folks, it's still open for free, so check it out now. If you use betting splits as part of your handicapping tools, well, you can check them out for free over at vsin.com/splits. Page is still open. You don't even need a pro subscription, so you can check out where the money and bets are moving today in Major League Baseball and future events as well, so you can get an early look at the play-in games in the NBA. Check it out now, vsin.com/splits.
April is awesome. Next Thursday already, we get the NFL draft.
I can't believe it. It came quickly and slowly at the same time.
You're right. Yep. Okay, so the quarterback market here in the first round, all right, here you go. This gets you fired up more than anything, I believe.
Yes, it does.
So here in Las Vegas at Estacia Casinos, the prop opened up a long time ago. I want to say that was either late February or early March.
Yeah, Chuck opened up pretty early. He did, yeah.
He did a great job with all these markets, right? And that, I think, peaked late last week. Over 4.5 quarterbacks to go in the first round. What was the biggest number you saw?
On the overs, like minus 320, I want to say.
I think I saw minus 350.
Okay, yeah, somewhere in that range.
In that range. So the under was plus 260 at the high point.
That's for sure the high point, yep.
Yeah, that's coming down here. Also at DraftKings now, over 4.5 quarterbacks is minus $2. The under is plus 160 this morning. So you've been saying this since I think the college football season was still going on.
Why?
When you were basically saying, I can't wait to bet the under on the quarterback prop.
Well, so this is my thing for years now. I've bet under on quarterbacks in the first round every single year since the draft has started.
Oh, good for you. I have not. Good for you.
And my whole thing, and for those who don't know, so we've had 7 years now. This will be the 8th year. In the last 7 years, 6 years, we've gone under the total for quarterbacks in the first round. And as I always point out, there's a caveat. The 1 year it went over, that was Lamar Jackson's year, the number actually closed 5. So if you got the right number, you're actually sitting at 6-0-1 to the under if you've played this the right way since NFL draft betting has been a thing. And my thing has just always been like, we give quarterbacks too much credit, right, when it comes to the conversations around them. We also overvalue where these guys might end up going. And you get like perfect examples. Mitch, I always think the perfect example is the Malik Willis, Kenny Pickett year, right? Where everybody and their mother was telling you, I watch these guys. I don't think they're first round picks. And yet the market's like that 3.5 shaded to the over. One guy goes in the first round.
I think, was that also Desmond Ridder?
Yes. Yeah. Desmond Ridder, I think it was the Matt Corral draft as well, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think you're right, yeah.
I mean, you go back to last year. And it's even around the mock drafts and the information that are out there. There's headlines. Will Levis, Indianapolis Colts, right? That was supposed to be the connection. Will Levis was supposed to go number 4 to Indianapolis.
A year ago next week, it took off on Reddit.
Yep, the Reddit thing.
He might go number 1 overall. My cousin told my milkman that time to fill up.
Will Levis is telling people he's going number 1 overall. And then, by the way, obviously the market fell for it. But this has always just kind of been my thing is we do this all the time. And sure enough, it happened again this year. So I've actually been very somewhat alone on this, where I actually kind of feel like we're doing this again with J.J. McCarthy, where I don't think he's actually going to go as high as we expect. A lot of people keep going, 1, 2, 3, 4, it could be quarterbacks. We're starting to see some pushback on that. Dane Brugler, for those who don't know, works The Athletic, one of the more respected NFL draft guys out there, came out with his beast. He's got J.J. McCarthy as actually the 21st, so 21st overall. He's got him on a second round grade. Yeah. So I think he's going to go a little bit later than we expect. But guys like Bo Nix and Michael Penix Jr., solidly second to third round guys, according to Brugler. You see guys like Todd McShay, I know you guys played the audio right last week, where he's telling Ryan Russillo, everybody that I have spoken to has at best a second round grade on Bo Nix.
And they're calling him a backup.
Yep, they all think he's going to be a backup. Penix, polarizing, but again, consistently, by the way, I think it's crazy, but consistently behind Bo Nix in a lot of the different things.
Which I don't get.
Right. But either way, I have become more and more, because of the returns over the last 6 years, but also just because as more information comes out and as we get closer to the draft, it's becoming more and more likely that, again, Bo Nix and Michael Penix Jr. are going to be second to third round selections. And I think it just makes more sense.
Let me ask you this. If a book posted 5.5 quarterbacks and the under, how high would you bet that to the under?
I mean, that's to me, the value would be insane on 5.5.
Would you go under? You would easily bet minus $3.
Yeah.
Would you bet minus $5 on that?
If you had the bankroll, do it. Yes. I mean, and I was texting with Doug Kazarian about this, and he brought this up to me too. Where on 5.5, given the way the market opened, theoretically you should be opening that on minus 1,000 on an under or something like that. If you really look at how that should be priced. So, if for whatever reason you got 5.5 under minus 350. I think the actual value in that percentage would be astronomical.
Here's what I'm going to do, because there are so many books. I don't have access to all of them, but if anybody sees that number out there, can you please tweet the show with the screen grab of that at VSIN Live, at Mitch Moss Radio. He's at MeJVT. I'm looking specifically for how many quarterbacks will go in the first round if a book has 5.5. I'm curious at what the juice is as we sit here now a week and a half before the event takes place. Now, this is a good tweet from Steve Palazzolo, Pro Football Focus. He pointed out, did the math on this, looked at all the numbers. New Falcons head coach, Raheem Morris, his Rams defense had 355 snaps where at least one edge defender dropped into coverage last year, most in the league. He broke down the most coverage snaps among top edges this year in the draft. Look at this. Dallas Turner sticks out like a sore thumb. It's 238 JVT, and nobody else is even. This is he's lapping the field by 5 times the amount.
Yes, so he seems like this is timely reference. He seems like a hand in glove fit, right? With Raheem Morris. So when you look at what Raheem Morris wants to do with some of his edge rushers, I think it makes a lot of sense. And by the way, I've seen 2 mock drafts that have Jared Verse at that position in terms of for Atlanta instead of a guy like Dallas Turner.
Lance Zierlein, one of them, and he said, I'm going to plant my flag on Verse going 8th overall to the Falcons.
Sure. And look, it makes sense, but this to me pushed it over the edge. So I added a little bit, but by the way, the numbers moved. I know I was texting about you this last week. Dallas Turner to go 8th overall at one point was plus 340. It's now plus 250 to go 8th overall,
it came
which
down
is the
that
best
much.
number.
Okay.
So it came down almost full buck. But I think that's still worth it. When you're talking about, again, just a plus price, and going back to what we're talking about with the quarterbacks, betting under at plus 260, totally worth it when you have the history that we do with quarterbacks. Same thing here where you have this at least fit. You have a team that's clearly looking for an edge rusher that a lot of people think are going to go that direction. You have a coach that likes to use his edge rushers in certain situations, and you have an edge rusher coming out that has experience dropping into coverage and doing those things. And I thought at plus 340, I actually still think at plus 250, that's still worth putting something on here with Turner going 8th. And by the way, specifically, it's Turner to go 8th overall. So if the Falcons trade back and draft him, obviously get screwed because you're not going to be there. Right. I don't think there's any reason for the Falcons, who are going to get their first pick of the best defensive player, to move out of that spot.
I don't know if they're going to trade out.
Right.
I don't think that's going to be a team that does. Maybe they do. Maybe I'm wrong on that because so many trades can happen. I think they're going to stay put at number 8.
You're going to get your pick of every defensive player.
And you're exactly right. And if they do, the edge position to be selected by the Falcons, I saw minus 250.
Yep.
So if it's going to be an edge player, if it's that big of a favorite, well, it's probably going to be Turner or Verse.
Yeah. Well, it's so cool. Like it's crazy how stuff like this shapes markets. So for example, if you actually look at the first defensive player drafted market, the 3 edge guys are actually all the top 3 picks. So it's like, it's Dallas Turner, it's Jared Verse, and it's Laiatu Latu, who are those top 3 selections, because we just know that, hey, Atlanta seems really likely that they're going to have the first defensive player off the board, and they want an edge rusher. So it's more than likely going to be one of these 3 guys.
I'll give you another one, too. You can find the first position drafted by the Chargers. Offensive lineman is minus 125. That number actually, I like it so much, it scares me.
Yeah.
I mean, is Jim Harbaugh the biggest BSer in the NFL by his comments 2 weeks ago, where he basically said he was talking glowingly about the offensive line and how important it is to build success, and they're going to run the football. Greg Roman's the new offensive coordinator. Based on his history with other teams, they love to run the ball. Everybody just thinks because there's no more Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, they're automatically going to go wide receiver 5th or wherever they might pick in the first round if they trade back. That's, to me, it's not going to be the case. To me, it's going to be offensive linemen.
Yeah, and I also think I would say the reality in which they don't is if Marvin Harrison Jr. is there at 5, right? If they actually go quarterbacks for the first 4 picks, which I don't think is going to happen, and then you're sitting there if you're the Chargers and the best wide receiver prospect in a while, it's just sitting there. That's probably where you get burned. But I would agree with you, and I would actually say too, if you trade back, I would say that increases the likelihood of them potentially going after one of these offensive linemen. It's a deep class. Sure. That's by the way, that's also one of the ones I bet. Over 9.5 offensive linemen first round at about
you did take that
minus 140.
Okay.
I haven't seen anything less than 10
in like every mock. You're seeing
everything
10
I've
or
read.
more.
Yeah.
Okay. How about the cornerbacks prop? Did you do anything with that number?
No, I haven't.
Those are the 3 big ones that are available: the offensive line, the cornerbacks. Well, the wide receivers are in there as well, along with the QBs.
Yeah, the common number that I've seen in these mocks that I've put together is 5 for the corners. They're on the low end, it's 4, but like 5 is the most common number that you see in the first round. And I think you're looking at 5.5 is the number for them.
Yeah,
yeah. So I think I guess you'd lean under because it doesn't seem like it seems to be strong, but it seems to be top heavy. Also tempted by a big price on under safeties, under 0.5. The only kid that might come in is I think it's the safety out of Minnesota. I think is the
That's
one
the only
might,
guy.
Yeah, that might sneak in there.
I've seen actually some mocks of the Packers taking him there.
Really?
Who knows? Because the Packers pick has been all over the map.
Yeah.
Either offensive lineman, cornerback generally is the number 1 pick, but also people are making the case for linebacker as well for Green Bay. So you still like the Titans offensive lineman, even though it's minus $3 now?
Yeah. I think it'd be worth it. Some spots are as high as minus 500.
Is it that big? Okay.
Given what you've seen them add, given where the market's going, if you can find like $3 or better. Again, in the NFL draft, you mentioned it. You don't like the late point. In the NFL draft, it's based off information. You're going to be laying prices a lot. I thought that was worth it.
All right. So up next, we're going to do door number 1 or door number 2. JBT is going to be great on this. He has to pick one. Which quarterback is going as a first rounder? We'll ask him coming up next.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN. It's time to play everyone's favorite Follow the Money game. Live from the VSiN studios.
Hey guys, you ready to let the dogs out?
This is door number 1.
New high score! What does high score mean? New high score, is that bad? What's that mean? Should I break it?
Or door number 2.
You get nothing! You lose! Good day, sir!
Here's Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard.
Well, Paulie's on vacation. Jonathan Von Tobel sitting in this week. This is going to be a fun one to expand on the NFL draft. Both of these are up at DraftKings. Kind of telling you, by the way, with the prices, in my opinion. So door number 1, and you have to bet one of these. Door number 1, Bo Nix under 32.5 with the draft position is plus 130. Michael Penix under 32.5 is plus 110. Which door do you want to go through?
All right, so if I have to pick one, I think I'd go with door 2. Like, so we had Todd McShay say that everybody that he's talked to thinks Bo Nix, second, third round backup. He called Penix polarizing, which means obviously that means there's opinions on both ends of the spectrum. And I think Penix is better than Bo Nix. I'm kind of surprised that
I'm pretty convinced that he's
right.
better.
Like, and I've been kind of surprised throughout this whole process. The group think is that Bo Nix is solidly ahead of Penix. I would disagree with that. So I don't think either's going to happen. But if I'm betting one of them, I'd rather go with Penix.
So you're telling me that the numbers here, the odds, are suggesting that he's favored to go over 32.5.
Yep.
Michael Penix is favored to go over 32.5 as well. And yet, 4.5 quarterbacks over is favored to go in the first round.
Yep.
Does that correlate to you?
Spencer Rattler, you're forgetting about him.
Oh, yeah. Silly me.
First round pick. I'm telling you, man, the first round quarterbacks happens every year. And you see it in the coverage, too. When you see mock drafts, what's the headline? 4 quarterbacks, top 6. 6 quarterbacks, top 12.
Oh, yeah.
That's all it's about. You just got to get that. Because you know what? I always make fun of it because it's a funny name. If I were to put out a mock draft and I were to tell you that Jackson Powers Johnson goes, the center for Oregon, like nobody cares, right?
Of course.
But you got to get these quarterbacks in. So like it's such a great example. And by the way, we were on the air for VSiN primetime when that Knicks position at DraftKings opened up. That went from like under -120 to over -150 within an hour.
And they put it at 32.5. That was the opening number?
Yep.
There was another book, a national book, that had, and I don't see it this morning, they may have yanked it, they had Knicks' position at 26.5.
A little off.
Yeah.
It's a little off.
They'll probably reassess and post a different number here sometime soon.
It's also kind of an odd number because there's nobody really around there
Yeah,
that's
I know.
been, like tied to him, which is kind of odd.
So all these mocks that have had Knicks going 12, specifically the Broncos, because of the Drew Brees connection, right? Short white guy playing quarterback under Sean Payton. That's a little too convenient.
It is. Well, and I commend Mel Kiper. So he had a mock draft on, it was March 19th, okay? And he had him, Bo Nix, going 12th. But he even put in there, I don't think that he is a first-round talent, but I'm going to put him in here anyway because the Broncos need a quarterback. His latest mock draft that came out about 4 days ago, he had somebody else going. I can't remember who it was, but he put in there, I can't do it anymore. He's not a first-round talent, essentially. I'm paraphrasing.
Okay.
And so he didn't have Bo Nix there. Like you're starting to see this turn in terms of where we're at with these guys.
And oh, by the way, like this chatter of the Broncos being one of those teams that could move up ahead of the Vikings to take a quarterback because the Vikings need one as well. They appear to be obsessed with J.J. McCarthy. They've made a move now in recent weeks, adding a second first-round pick where they could eventually move up and take a guy that they would want higher than where they're currently selecting. Do the Broncos want to go down that path? They just did it for Russell Wilson.
Yep.
And clearly they, Sean Payton anyway, thought it was a ridiculous move.
Yep. Well, and the other thing, too, is so you don't have that many assets. You would sacrifice more assets to go get this quarterback. Then you would have none to use to build around him as you move forward in future years. And by the way, Sean Payton is reportedly the second highest paid head coach in American sports, right? Not just the NFL. So if that's the case, he's not on any rush in terms of a timeline. So use your assets wisely, build up the roster, go ahead and roll with Jarrett Stidham for a year, see what happens, and if you finish inside of the top 5 again, well, guess what? Then use that opportunity to go get a quarterback. They're in no rush to make this happen.
Now, it's solid logic, honestly.
Yeah.
And so do they just, at 12, though, to me, is a complete reach for either of these guys, including Bo Nix.
Yep. And for Penix, I thought Adam brought up a brilliant point, which I had totally forgotten about. We talk about all the injuries over the course of his year. He had another injury at the end of the regular season last year. He was not the same guy.
No, there's no way.
He gets a month off and then comes back in the playoff and looks much better. Like there is something where and then again with both of these guys, Mitch, rookie year at the end of your rookie contract, you're going to be talking about being in your 30s. That's not
pretty much
or touching your 30s. That's not what you want for a quarterback at the end of his rookie deal.
Door number 1, the Max Holloway finish Saturday night, UFC 300. Or door number 2, a walk-off winner in any other sport.
Well, as a pure alpha male who's knocked out many men in his life.
I've seen it happen with my own eyes.
Yeah, but I'll go with the door number 2 because I've been there and done that with door number 1. No, door number 1. Are you serious, man? Especially with the rush of the crowd and everybody screaming and doing all that just in that moment. And of course, leading up to it, too, where it's true. Like, a lot of people didn't think he was going to be able to do it. Oh, that was awesome. I'll go with the finish.
In my opinion, like that win, for at least a 24-hour period, the biggest ego on the planet for anybody could have been Max Holloway.
Yep.
He could have strutted into any room in the world with the cockiest, right, like look on his face, attitude out of anybody.
Yep.
Forget Scotty Scheffler running away with the Masters. It's Max Holloway finishing. He didn't have to do that, by the way. He was going to win the fight.
Right.
And he decided, let's go to war, baby. And in the final 10 seconds, they're swinging for the fences. And he just, it's over. With 1 second to go.
Yep. And to do that, over a fellow competitor, the closest you'll get touching the line to taking somebody's life, Just right there. Eliminating their consciousness.
We'll never, unless you're a UFC or a boxer, we'll never, what's that feeling like?
Want to try it out?
I mean, I honestly don't want. They're not rooting to kill somebody, obviously.
No, of course not.
But to actually finish the job like that,
Right.
oh man.
Trying hard not to make an OJ joke.
Door number 1, the Oklahoma City Thunder lose their first round playoff series, or door number 2, they win the West. And yes, it has to be one or the other.
Yeah, I know. That's tough. Ooh, that's a good one. I will go with, let me double check to see what this path looks like. Ooh. I'll go with door number 1. Because there is a reality
Say it ain't so.
that the Lakers lose. Here's the real question. They're not going to do it, but here's the real question. If you're the Lakers,
I know where you're going to go.
do you tank this?
Yep. But then you got to.
Do you risk it?
Then maybe you got to beat the Warriors.
You get a home game. You'll get a home game in the second play-in. But you would get the opportunity to take on a team that you were 3-1 against and have absolutely manhandled in the regular season.
Can they thread that needle?
Right.
They lose their play-in game to the Pelicans, then come back and, in theory, beat the Warriors.
Yeah.
To get OKC.
It would be right. It would be the perfect, because I don't think the Lakers want to see the Nuggets. I like this Nuggets team a lot. I think they match up well with the Lakers. Everybody got all randy about Rui Hachimura guarding Nikola Jokic for like 5 seconds in the Western Conference Finals last year. They got swept. It's not going to happen, but it would be kind of funny if it did. And what if they just lose? They're 1 point underdogs.
Yeah, right.
So what if they just lose a coin flip and then win the second game, and then you get OKC in the first round?
Who would you like in that series?
Matchup wise, they would be the Lakers.
I think so too. They did very well against them in the regular season.
Their side, they have too much size for them.
This is on the air. It was after the draft last year. I said the team that you need to bet on this upcoming season right now is Oklahoma City. There was a book, and I grabbed it at 60-1 to win the West.
Ooh, nice.
Back in June. So it's been that money's been tied up for a long time now. I am deathly afraid of that bet if they get the Lakers in round 1.
Yep. Any of these other teams you'd rather see if you're Oklahoma City.
I would.
But you don't want the Lakers to fall to 8 and then get in.
Door number 1, Jackson Holiday, plus 450 to win the American League Rookie of the Year. Or door number 2, his own teammate, Colton Cowser. He was plus 550 still yesterday until, he went yard again, down to 3-1.
I want to say door number 1 only because with these awards, for like preseason hype is really important.
I think, the narrative was already built in for this kid.
Yes. Like, he just has to come up and just have an average season, not get hurt, and I think he's probably going to win this thing.
I'll tell you, though, this Cowser, he's been, the spring training that he had, it was absurd. He was blistering hot, and it's actually carried over into the regular season, which that does not happen.
4 homers and 38 plate appearances.
Yeah, he's forcing their hand because there was going to be basically a platoon because they have so much talent offensively, and they don't want to rush the young guys up. There's no way that this guy can sit.
Although I do think Jackson Holiday grounded out in his first at-bat, so he's probably a fraud.
Yeah, he probably stinks. In fact, he finally got his first hit after like 10 or 11 at-bats. So let's chill out here a little bit.
Send him the single-A rookie ball. Just let him develop a little bit.
They have to make another move, I would think, for a pitcher.
Oh, you can't.
They have too much young talent that needs to play.
You got to force the window open. You can't. There's no way you can't do this. You would be doing a disservice to the team, to the fans, everything.
I totally agree. They are good. We saw it last year. They were the 1 seed. And they didn't have enough pitching. And
even some of these rough series losses, like I watched that whole series with the Royals, man. It was just bad luck in terms of where they were hitting these balls. They're good, man. They're really freaking good.
Yep. So up next, we will get into a very heavy Major League Baseball card today. We'll go over some of the numbers on the card and who we're buying and who we're not buying at the early stage of the season. That's next on Follow the Money. It's VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Don't miss out on any of the NBA playoff action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. From the play-in tournament through the finals, DraftKings Sportsbook has you covered with same-game parlays, live betting odds boosts, and much more. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, use code VSiN, and new customers can bet $5, get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Check it out now. It's code VSiN, only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Little Major League Baseball today. It is a very busy card. including, by the way, the annual Patriots Day game for the Red Sox, which starts in a couple of hours here for those of you watching and listening to this show live. Their nemesis, the Yankees, have the most wins in Major League Baseball at 12-4. They're playing the Blue Jays today in Toronto. It's Luis Gil versus Chris Bassett. Bassett, small favorite here. Yankees you can find at even money in this spot. Want to go to war here? Want to bet the best team in baseball at this point at even money? Blue Jays, I mean, the struggles continue with I know they won yesterday, but the bats, very alarmed with the lineup so far for Toronto. And
I think you make the argument for Luis there that maybe he's being a little undervalued. 2 starts, 3 flat ERA, but a 281 fielding independent. Expected ERA is under 2. Mm-hmm. Like, he's been freaking lights out. The command's kind of been wonky, but he strikes out a ton of dudes in terms of the K rate, right? Balancing that out. So I think you probably, I don't know, man. I hate this Yankees team because I bet them under and they got off to a really good start. So yeah. I hope they lose. Let's just play that out there.
To me, by the way, when you look at early season numbers like that, you just threw out there with Heel. Man, how much stock do you put into that at this point of the season? Like, there are certain guys I would look at. Again, it happened yesterday. Blake Snell, rough one.
Yep.
He had no spring training.
Yep.
So this is basically his spring training right now. You expected a guy like that to, I mean, hell, he didn't even sign with his team until a couple of weeks ago. You would expect somebody like that to struggle. He'll get better throughout the season. How many starts will it take? I'm not ready to bet Blake Snell next time. But I'm also, I don't think Luis Gil is going to put up this good of numbers the entire year. But do I want to bet against him today against a Blue Jays team that struggles to hit the ball? No, not really.
No, and I think, too, when it comes to like some of the early season stuff, and I wrote a little bit about this on Thursday for the first 5 innings piece, you're looking for more, like, so what I like to do is I think a lot of people do, right? You look at that ERA, then you look at the underlying metrics for them, and you try to find the discrepancies and play on them, but you're always looking for reasons why. I don't think you want to like just blindly bet those differences. Mm-hmm. So for me, a good example is a guy like Hunter Brown. So like Hunter Brown is awful. And if you looked at the numbers, you would say like, well, the batting average of balls in play, like he's just getting really unlucky. Teams are batting over 400 against him. Yeah, you want to know why? Because the average exit velocity is like 100 miles an hour.
They're smoking the ball.
They were giving him hard contact like crazy. So like that's, I think, what you're looking for is you're looking for those discrepancies, but you're also looking for the reasons why. And if you find strong enough reasons, I think you can kind of just pounce on those things. Yeah, Hunter Brown stinks.
Yankees most wins at 12.
Yep.
Right behind them, the Dodgers with 11. They lost last night to the Padres. Tied with the Pirates at 11-5 overall. Pittsburgh is plus money against the Mets today, and it opened up around minus 113 for Adrian Hauser and the Mets. He's now minus 123. You can get Martin Perez at like plus 113 at this point. Is that good enough to back the Pirates today?
I feel like the Pirates are due potentially to kind of fall from. I mean, we saw this last year, right? What were they, 20-10 the first 30 games?
They got off to a great April last year.
Yep. Nah, like for me, it's just when they walk a lot. They're actually, I think, are they like top 5? Yeah, they're second actually in walk rate. They've been great, but they strike out a lot. They've been they're getting pretty lucky on balls in play. I feel like there's a point where you're going to come back down to earth, and does that start to play consistently here? Now the question is, we're still talking small sample size, so you could continue to do this, but I feel like I'm looking for more opportunities to go against Pittsburgh than I think back them. There's a lot of signs that they're playing a little bit above their head.
Yeah. I did not rush out to bet that team to win the National League Central because last week or about 10 days ago, they were still plus 1150, I believe, or 12-1. I did not add that one to the portfolio. Also, I think that it's just that division can be had by almost any of those teams.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I like the Cubs coming into this. I like the Cubs a lot. Now, Steele, we don't know the future of Justin Steele, obviously, with what's going on with his hamstring, but like their lineup can be effective. They're getting good pitching. The Cardinals lineup hasn't been great, but they can still be pretty good. No, I think that thing's going to be a slobber knocker, I think, the entire way through. And then all of a sudden, the Brewers, their lineup looks awesome.
How about that?
Yeah.
I did not expect that coming into the season.
And like their numbers are kind of tight. Like they look like they're going to be good and like consistently good.
They're kind of mashing the ball at this point.
Yeah. Like the joke was coming in like the Brewers just want to win every game 1-0.
Sure.
That's not the case. They continue to kind of just smack the cover off the ball.
I'm pleasantly surprised by that. So I mentioned this earlier. The Red Sox playing a very early game today so they get the Guardians, right? And this number is all over the board, but it's been going up a little bit. Are the Boston Red Sox sneaky good? Is it possible?
Yeah.
They are sitting right now in the American League East at 9-7. They're a half a game back of the Orioles, sitting in third place as we speak. The one trepidation I would have about buying in, they did get the A's, right away in the season. Your Angels.
Yep.
They were taken apart by the...
Well, that's a huge series win. Come on now.
Against the Orioles, but they played the Angels twice.
I mean, that's World Series champion Angels. Come on.
Of course, yeah. So that I'm a little scared there, but
sure.
And the Guardians are pretty good overall.
Yeah, I think Boston, like, I always figured Boston would kind of be like I think we all kind of figured they'd be a decent offensive team, right?
Sure.
It was just whether or what you were going to get over the large sample size when it comes to pitching. Now, I do think, like, when you look at something, like, they strike out a ton, so you don't really like that. Like, over a quarter of their appearances, they're striking out. They're walking at a pretty decent rate, but not something insane. I think that maybe that's the worry, is that kind of falls off. But I think for what the expectations were for them, I think they're better than what we thought they were going to be, for sure.
Okay, agreed. Now, I mentioned this in recent shows here on the network, that betting the Cy Young Award, to me, it's a lot of fun because you basically, I like the way Mike Palm said it here at Circa. You have action almost every single day.
Yeah.
Because your pitcher's going to go sometimes twice a week. So you have action essentially every time that your pitcher goes, but basically you have action every other day because you want to fade the guys who are going to be in competition to win that award. But with all of these injuries, I am slow to going nuts with adding guys. Your guy, Reed Detmers, on the Angels, they are 7-8 right now. They are a half a game back at Texas for first place in the West. That division looks completely bonkers at this point of the season. Reed Detmers has basically a 1 ERA. He's got the highest strikeout per 9 rate right now in baseball as a starting pitcher. He's definitely got great K stuff.
Yep.
This is not an aberration with that. Could that guy be in the mix to win a Cy Young, even if the Angels win, let's say, 74, 75 games?
I mean, I think he can. Like, we've got some precedent, right, that, that doesn't really matter. It's about individual performance.
Yeah.
The strikeout number is going to be awesome. And, like, it doesn't seem that it's going to be anything, like, that's unsustainable. He's changed things. He's throwing his fastball more. His changeup, the rate at which he's using his changeup has increased. It's one of his highest rated pitches now that he's using. You mentioned, like, the way that he can blow by guys. The rate in which he's inducing swings and misses inside the strike zone is so much higher. I think so. And, like, the Angels have done a pretty, like, low-key, sneaky job in developing some of these guys to be pretty decent pitchers. And we'll see what happens with as we were talking about. Why am I blanking on my guy?
Sandoval's going today.
Sandoval's going today, but the guy that just Silseth, that just went on IL with the inflammation. But, like, there's signs that he's going to be pretty solid too. I don't think that there's any reason why you wouldn't believe in it. For me, it was him or like Spencer Turnbull's off to an awesome start.
Yeah.
And he's still floating around like 100-1 here. If you look at some of the numbers too, like fielding independence floating right around 3, looks like he can be kind of sustainable. Turnbull's been great for the Phillies so far, too.
Yeah, so I'm pretty convinced as well. Like a player on a team, we don't need the wins really aren't going to matter that much anymore in Major League Baseball when it comes to the awards. So it's going to be the overall metrics and the numbers and how good a guy is overall. He can't control who his teammates are.
Also, what the record is in his starts. That would help, too, right? If they're a bad team, but they're winning his games more often.
The biggest problem I have for Reed Detmers is no more Ohtani on the team.
Yep.
I just don't know. You figure they're not going to be that good this year overall. Maybe they can surprise. I doubt it. But
Trout's going to get traded at the deadline.
No, that's not going to happen. They'll never trade this guy, evidently. But will Detmers do enough? Like, will he ever be able to get into the national narrative? That's my biggest doubt about this.
Sure. Well, and I also think, like, are there going to be voters who are just like, no, like, even if he's sitting there with, like, like a 2.3 ERA near the end of the year and he's racking up the innings.
13 Ks per 9.
Sure. Yeah. But will they just be like, no, the team stinks? Like, I feel like pitchers are good. Like, Cy Young is a good enough individual award that you can overlook something like that. But to your point, I mean, dude, the Angels, the biggest example of what you're talking about, Shohei Ohtani played for the Angels for, 6 years? They were trotting him out on Thursday Night Football with the Rams like he just got to L.A. for the first time.
Yeah.
They had no idea that he'd been there in their backyard the entire time. They're giving him jerseys. Everybody's clapping. He'd been there for 6 years. The Angels have no pull when it comes to some of the national narrative. None. And that was with him. Now you're asking for Reed Detmers to get that.
Another guy who's off to a great start, Paul Blackburn. Again, the A's might win 64 games. Who knows? He hasn't allowed a run yet.
Yep.
ERA's at 0. I'm guessing that's going to regress a little bit. But here's one more realistic guy. Jose Barrios?
Dude.
Is it possible?
Is the turnaround real?
I love his stuff, always have, but I think it's never really panned out overall.
I think one of the big changes, I was looking at some of his numbers earlier. I think he using his fastball like a little bit more, and I don't know. I'm with you. I have believed, but it's never really been their consistency or consistently. It looks really good, though.
In fact, over the years, it's like trying to find spots on a day-to-day basis to fade him how you can.
Right.
But
it's a small sample size regardless for a full season for starting pitchers. You just got to maintain it for a smaller sample size over the course of the year. Let's do it.
Tom Burns going to join the show up next. He covers the NBA, Mad Dog Sports Radio on Sirius XM. Who does he like in the play-in games and in the first round? We'll ask him next here on VSiN.